Thanks. So now Megan is going to talk about OpenSFS, OpenSFS update.
Yeah, because it's,
and
do we
I
have
need
the slides
to
on
put
here?
the slides on, yes.
Super. So this is some OpenSFS promotion, a self-promotion, and a little minor bit of housekeeping. And I am the last thing standing between you and the bar today. I promise I will be succinct. Okay.
Oh yeah, I think that's it.
Okay, so we use our Lustre Users Group meeting to have our OpenSFS annual member meeting. And today, April 1st, great day for a meeting. Just a few things that I will quickly share with you, let you know who our supporters are, what is OpenSFS, our board elections, financials, and some of the community events in which OpenSFS participates. First of all, we have our supporters of vendors who sell products that involve Lustre, and we have our membership, which are people who use Lustre, many of whom are involved in making Lustre better, and they submit bugs and they help write solutions to some of the bugs that they find. And so this member community is really important for, Lustre going forward. And OpenSFS maintains and facilitates some of the communication to make this happen. And the monies received here help, keep, our licenses going or whatever, so that we can maintain our communication channels for the community. So that said, OpenSFS facilitates community in Lustre, around Lustre. Again, both the vendors called participants and our users, our members, can discuss features or bugs or perhaps best practices, methodologies. We are all about communication and sharing, and as they say, a rising tide can lift all boats. We also, in OpenSFS, promote Lustre and the Lustre community. We want to ensure that Lustre remains vendor neutral and freely downloadable, although if there are entities that prefer a vendor added solution, that's also available. So we want to give people using Lustre a choice as to how they want to implement it in their site. We also promote Lustre itself, and we also promote the community around Lustre. We try to have things like Peter mentioned earlier, a documentation working group. We're also trying to, in OpenSFS, do some marketing work so that people understand that Lustre is used on HPC systems. Some people think, well, Lustre is old and therefore perhaps, out of date and crufty or something like that. And we want to let people know that it's not true. There are a whole lot of people in this room who actively use Lustre, who actively develop Lustre and submit patches and new features. So we want to make sure that, in the general marketplace, people are aware that Lustre is a vibrant entity. One of the things that OpenSFS does is organize this conference. So that's some of the things that we do. We do not do any funding of Lustre development ourselves. This, I'd like to make you aware, we have a survey. We have a QR code right here. You will see this again at the end of our conference. We request that everyone please take the survey. It's really short. It's like 5 or 6 questions. And we do take the responses to heart. I mean, people have made comments about, why don't we try our developer day, after instead of before? So we thought, okay, let's try it. And we've had, comments about maybe, food entities and, did we have enough vegetarian options or whatever. So this Lustre Users Group conference, we want to make it somewhere where you can network and get in touch with your peers and learn about Lustre. But we want you guys to have some good food too and stuff like that. So we have a survey to help us do better in future. And now a little bit about our OpenSFS kind of management structure. We have a board of directors, and we have a nominating committee to put candidates up for our board of directors. This year's committee was Steve Sims, Kevin Harms, and Rick Moore. And the process outlined here is reaching out to active people in our member organizations. And we were able to locate this year 4 candidates for our 2 OpenSFS board positions. So we sent out email and we had elections. And I was elected for another 2-year term. We had Leo Sadvera elected for a 2-year term as treasurer, and Cameron Haar was appointed to fill a vacancy we had in the vice presidency position for a 1-year term. So, thank you for voting. And, if you get the email, just, click a couple radio buttons. The vote, does matter so that we do have people in positions to help organize the conference and help keep things going. So this is our board. This is us. I also want to say, thank you for everybody who has served in the past, for people who have put their names into OpenSFS as being willing to serve. We really appreciate it because for most of us that you see on this image, this is not a paying gig. We do this because we believe in Luster and we believe in the community and we would like to see it succeed and continue to succeed. Okay, now the fun part, finance. So we have some numbers that Leo put together for some actual results, our 2024 budget, and our cash projection. And basically, the whole point of these financial slides at our LUG meeting is to try and give you an idea of where our money comes from and where it goes to, and to offer some transparency as to what we're doing with this money, that we receive. So as you can see, our revenue comes primarily from our sponsors. So when we put up slides that have, our sponsors at our gold level, at our platinum level, these people are really helping pay for the work that we do here at OpenSFS. And a lot of that work is the conference. I mean, we were saying, the food you eat and stuff, we get that sponsored. We have our membership dues for a big chunk of it, and we actually had some new members this year, so we had some more entities join. Yippee. And so when you look at what our expenses are, they're mostly administrative, keeping track of like lawyers on retainers and stuff like that. We could put a big chunk of the funding that we receive towards events like the one you're attending right now. And then we have a little for marketing, communications, and operations, making sure we have electricity and air conditioning to the servers, and all kinds of miscellaneous things that make stuff work. So our 2025 budget finances review. And this is basically, again, sponsorship and membership dues. So we are kind of, anticipating more or less what we had in 2024. We do encourage you in your groups to, renew if you're a member or, one of the vendors. We really do appreciate the support. We really try to use the funds wisely. And as I said, in this network-connected world where so many people are at different sites and working remotely, we really value the people who come to our Luster user group meetings to touch base, and not only to share some of the things that they have experienced or they're working on with Luster, but just to connect to each other, just to talk. And even if you're not necessarily a developer, you can say, hey, I'm using Luster and this is driving me crazy. And someone that you're talking to near the coffee machine might say, yeah, that used to get me too, but I tried this. And just that kind of communication here in this room, and then later on our lists. So if you have any questions about our finances and stuff, we will have these slides with everything else from our LUG 2025 out about a month after this event. But you can always, email myself or Leo, or, just send a message to the board, and we'll try to answer any of the, financial questions you might have. But we try to be good stewards. We try to be transparent. Again, the similar thing from 2024, a lot of our budget goes to expenses for administrative costs, and then, to events, operations. It looks, pretty similar to the previous year. So this we like to call the eye test chart. That's our kind of our in-house nickname for it. Essentially, it is showing, the flow of funds, when we receive a lot of our money, which is around the time of our LUG, and basically, what goes in and out. So if you want an idea of what we do with money received, we have this summary. Again, it will be available so you can blow it up and not have to worry about reading all these small numbers after the conference. But again, we are trying to be open and, full disclosure about what we're doing with your money. Events. That is something else that we do at OpenSFS. We have the LUG event. You are here. We have the ISC BOF that is co-hosted by EOFS and OpenSFS. That's June 11th coming up. LAD is coming up in Europe. I think I heard Toulouse, which I said, oh, that sounds like a lovely place to be in September. And someone quickly answered me, it's a lovely place to be any time of year. So that's coming up. Supercomputing 25, we usually have a BOF, Birds of a Feather there. And if you want to host a Lustre user group event, we're still looking for people for next year and the year after. So, please contact us, see me. We have a lot of resources for hosting a LUG. We have kind of a checklist of what you need to do and approximately what month time frame it would need to be done in order to make a LUG event happen. And, we love getting out into the community and going to different places each year for our LUG event. So if you're interested in hosting, please do let us know. And Peter covered this earlier, but there's a documentation working group that is ongoing, and they have been working through their documentation and such. And this is, one of the things that we try to do through OpenSFS to, improve the documentation, make sure it's accurate, correct everything. And, it's something that, you can do even if you're not a super great developer. The other thing OpenSFS is doing is we're continuing working on a marketing initiative. We kind of heard, at one of our events that, as I mentioned, there were newer shared file systems coming out for HPC, and people might have been getting the idea that, Lustre was old and stale. And as I said, I don't believe that's true, and I don't think most of the people in this room, especially our developers and such, believe that's true. So we want to make sure that we maybe get some materials together to highlight the fact that Lustre is a continuing viable file system for HPC, that it's vendor agnostic, and that there are many choices of Lustre implementation. So we just want to get, the information out to, the high-performance computing community at large, and that, we in OpenSFS are vendor agnostic, and we try to support vendors who provide Lustre, but we also support people who just, want to kind of self-support. So we're cool with that. So we have our mailing list. That's one of the main ways in which we share ideas and facilitate discussions. As mentioned earlier today, there was an issue with our mailing list. We are hoping, fingers crossed, that has been resolved. As a result of that glitch, you may find it necessary to resubscribe to the OpenSFS lists, Lustre Discuss, and some of the lists that you are on. We apologize for your having to do that again, but we are hoping we got that fixed. Our board member, Sean Hall, spent quite a few hours trying to figure out what the issue was and ways in which to fix it. So we do encourage you to subscribe to our mailing lists and discussions, be a part of our community. And I would like to thank our hosting committee. I think that we have had a really nice venue here At Stanford University, I think that, the tables are set up nicely. We tried to make sure there was lots of power for laptops and cell phones and what have you. And we really appreciate our hosts. I think they have done a marvelous job. Their names are up on this screen. We also appreciate the people who have taken efforts to review the submissions for the talks that we have at our LUG this year. We have people who have gone through and reviewed stuff and even gone through, a couple of iterations to make sure that our talks are in the right time frame and maybe a little more focused for our community here. So those people, those gentlemen, have really done a really nice effort on that this year. I think our talks have been really good so far. And I'd like to just take a real quick special shout out to Stefan as one of our hosts. And yeah, he deserves a round of applause. He does. So really appreciate him kind of taking the site lead on all of that, and him and his team doing the legwork to find, a really good place to have a few beers after the first day of the conference. So thank you to all of those people. And that's it, and it only took me 23 minutes, so we finished up a little early.